going to make a long form video for documentation purposes. So the morning of whichever day it was, I got up early and I went to go get some tacos, and at some point I went to the Metro PCS right here off of Saratoga and Weber, right? So then with my phone, so I had to, it was probably about 10 o'clock, whatever time they opened. And we're passing fire station number 6713 Weber Road. That may be relevant. Firefighter at that Stripes. I wouldn't call it an altercation. It did not respond, but he was harassing me, and I reported an incident, which may be relevant. So now, while I was at the Metro PCS, I noticed police officers were gathering at the car wash across the street. And it may have been a coincidence, but honestly, I think they were there because, you know, they wanted to see what was up. I left, and I think a call probably went out. I don't know where my daughter's mother-in-law got the idea to throw us out from, but no harm, no foul. Nobody wants to come home and find their things outside. Whether they can legally do that or not is really of no consequence. It's what they did, and it was really just the back and forth between the tug of war between my daughter. Now, what hindsight is 2020, and what I know now is my daughter was making all the decisions on her own behalf at that time. And she was mentally competent then. And I'm not a physician, but I know she is not mentally competent now. I know she is, in the past, she was refusing to take her medication. And she has that right. And I believe even if you're in the hospital, you have a right to refuse your medication. And I did have medication forced on me in the hospital. That way I would behave a certain way. But that's another tale for another time. I don't remember, but I think this is the street we turn on to get to the Silver Hollow address. So, I didn't come this way, or did I? I don't remember. Yes, I did. This is pretty much the only way you could come. So, I don't remember who was with me or how it happened. Really, the details don't matter. They started putting my things outside, and when I got there, I called the police. By law, people have to evict you. They can't just put your stuff outside. So, I wasn't trying to live there rent-free. I was taking care of the daughter unofficially. I wasn't getting paid. It wasn't my responsibility. But I was the one that was there with her. I was pretty much the housemaid. Okay, so right here, this is what's the address? 4405 Silver Hollow. And I think a firefighter lives right here, 44103. And I complained about him a few times. And of course, he would say, I didn't say anything. I don't know if it's that one exactly. It might be 4421. I can't remember. But then a Corpus Christi police officer or detective or something, whatnot, lives somewhere down here as well. And I've had issues with him. Just out, out and about. And I think this is 4441 Silver Hollow. Might be where he lives. If not, it's 4445. And honestly, it doesn't look like he lives there anymore. I don't see any cop cars. I don't know how it works. Okay, so that wasn't just for fun. I'm not like, let's go see how the old gang is doing. Now, all the places I mentioned, the addresses, the fire station, all that good stuff, events happened that I reported, right? I called into the police department. I want to say not even a third of those are going to be in the records because dispatch or the powers that be, however it works, they didn't do their jobs. They just dismissed my concerns as irrelevant. And this is law enforcement involved, stalking and harassment and trafficking. And, when you talk to dispatch, they're pretty much lawyers and judges. They just know everything. This is how it works. And I can tell by the way that you are upset that your daughter was chemically lobotomized, and we have been disregarding you since clear back to 2010 when there was a gas leak caused by a faulty water heater due to tampering, where your youngest child almost died, and where most likely all of your children were being sexually assaulted and you were being drugged using stolen anesthesia. Since you're mad at that, I can safely say that you're crazy. So, how these drugs are highly regulated, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. Do banks have locks on their doors? And do they still get robbed? People that work dispatch are so indoctrinated that they can't even see their own hands in front of their face. But they are only doing what they're told. So who is responsible for convincing an entire department that I suffer from mental illness? More importantly, regardless of what anyone is or is not suffering from, they still have the legal right to not have their children drugged and raped. So Miss Amanda used to live somewhere over here in one of these townhomes, and her husband, who is or was recently a palace manager, is not a fan of mine. Neither are people that work at the palace. Why that is, I don't know. There were no incidents there that I have any recollection of. I don't know, like what. And since I identified Amanda and her now husband as being suspects, right, for lack of a better word, regarding incidents that happened while I was working at the palace, things that actually happened to me, not things that happened in the club. I think I've gone over what happened with one of the dancers dancer. She passed out cold. So what I think happened is Richard drugged her. She went to the dressing room and she passed out. He was waiting for her to pass out so he could sexually assault her. So he had access to these date rape drugs, right? They had access to drugs, period. We know, prostitution, it's not the only place it happens. It happens on the street, it happens down Leopard, and it happens on the palace. It's not a secret. It's not, something I'm going to expose. And you do have predominantly, law enforcement, first responders working security. So how are you going to work security for legalized prostitution? And you know that the people that work there are moving drugs, selling drugs to the dancers, to the customers. Bruce, rest in peace. Now that he has passed away, he was selling drugs out of the club. I saw it with my own eyes. Did I see a bag that said drugs, illegal substances? No. I don't think it was candy that he was selling. Am I trying to stop people selling drugs in clubs? This is just how everything links back to me and my take on this situation, my feelings. And this was not planned. This isn't something, this is just off the top of my head. As we pass certain landmarks, I'm compelled to mention certain people in certain situations. So, there's drug dealing in a topless bar. I don't think everybody's mind is going to be blown. There is prostitution. Wow, I can't believe it. Say it isn't so. And, I worked there myself, so I wasn't a prostitute. I wasn't selling drugs. So I'm not saying that the people, everybody that works there is bad. It's a legal operation, right? It's a job. It's better than killing yourself. I think, if women have that opportunity, it's an option for them. There are plenty of girls that did it to support, for extra money for school or to completely support themselves. There are girls that, work until 2 o'clock in the morning and then get up at 6, get up at 8 and go to school. It really does happen. It can be of benefit to you. You do not have to be a prostitute. Prostitution was taking place. One dancer was drugged. I believe the manager drugged her intentionally. I don't see why somebody would sit at a bar and take something that's going to knock them out. I did request that they call an ambulance, and the Corpus Christi Police Department, Richard refused because he said, I don't want the cops here. Why the fuck not? She could have been fucking dying. He didn't know if she had overdosed on coke, heroin. He was the manager. He's responsible for her life. No call was made to the Corpus Christi Police Department because he was the one that drugged her. So we know that these types of substances are easily available. We can link the Corpus Christi Police Department, right? The actual dealer that used to deal to Bruce operates out of the auto body shop, the classic restoration shop on the corner right there next to the police department. Now, I understand me just saying that is not going to trigger an investigation. No, we have a YouTuber or, a blogger, and she's made this statement, so we're going to get 10 of our best guys. I understand how things work, right? But like I said, I'm not trying to save the world or fight the world. You know that these things happen. I have firsthand knowledge. I'm not 100% certain. right? I fulfilled my obligation, which was to inform the club manager, and he made the call. And I could have called 911, but he sat the dancer, Richard sat the dancer up in the chair. She was pushing him away. You know, obviously she's not attracted to him. I think she was actually married. I don't know if they were having a little something going on, but he wouldn't have had to have drugged her, you know. And even if they did have a little something going on, maybe drugging her would have been exciting to him, right? So now let's go and drive around the palace and let's see who's working. I'm actually gonna have to put timestamps on this. So we are passing the Allure Apartments, where I've been harassed by Signal Security, who patrols the lot. And this complex right here is managed by the same management company that manages the Fairway Apartments. Same maintenance man. So it is most likely, it is possible that Signal Security monitors the security cameras in at Fairway, but honestly, I think it's just property management. They're very low budget there. So right across the street, my daughter's employer, anybody that works there has access to her schedule. That's at least 20 to 30 people that can take a picture of the schedule. And any of those 30 plus people that work there can easily send a text message to somebody knowingly or unknowingly. Or somebody can say, hey, let me look at your schedule. It would not be difficult. In order for somebody to gain access to my apartment, they would have to be certain that nobody was home. So we're taking, this is the country club right here. There's a golf course, and I was harassed from the golf course, but any Tom, Dick, or Harry can literally walk on the golf course at night. They don't have security, because I complained to them about the harassment, and I looked for security jobs. They just locked the gates, and the field is closed. And I remember as a teenager walking onto that field, and it seems to be just as easy to do that now. Most likely that was a homeless person, right? So I don't think anybody is here at the palace right now. And I don't think they're going to look back at the security footage and know or care that I did a drive-through. So we've got some cameras up on top right there. No parking anytime. The Sorority House restaurant. Okay, it's pretty nice. So now when it comes to the palace, I don't hold Leo, the owner. He used to be the owner. I don't hold him responsible. I don't think the palace, itself was the issue. It was the people that work here. Some creepy chair right there. What are you looking at? So this is private property. Like I said, you know, they're closed. There's nobody here. It's helping me remember. So, there are rooms upstairs. I've never been upstairs. I've never seen the rooms. There's a little window AC unit right there. What the fuck is that for? So, now I worked here when John Graham's brother was, I want to say, like the police chief in Orange Grove, right? Now we have one of the palace, the main core day dancers. She lived in Orange Grove. Now there was a girl named, I think, Polly, who had worked here. I think we both worked here on and off since we were 18, 20. And yet somehow we were not friends. She was like, I guess I was a threat to her operation. We can go over that in another video. Because if you're not involved, and then there was the DJ, several DJs. Around that time, there was Marco, right? Maybe relevant, maybe not. Anybody that's involved in drugs, you know, is subject to manipulation. Which is anybody that's involved in criminal activity. You don't know. You know. And basically, anybody that needs $10 or $100, they will sell your mama down the river. I mean, it is frightening how easy law enforcement is pulling all of this off, and they're just, to get close to you, they just have to get to the people around you. Now, I'm living in a very low rent slum with some questionable individuals, because I don't mind, living in I don't need for things to be the best. I didn't know it was this bad. But people that are gonna say, hey, I can't do any better than this, and that is what the people that live with me are saying. They literally don't have a problem with mold growing in the walls. There are a lot of things that, they would do and tolerate. So this is, this was pretty long. I don't think I'm going to get any views except for FaceTube lawyers and, a couple officers that are, the guilty parties and whatnot. So I'm going to wrap this up. And I always say I'm going to try to edit, but I don't have the time. It's really not my bag, So just a first draft, a rough draft video, throwing this up. I'll talk to you guys later.